Welcome to SC Conversation. I'm your host, Brian Mosteller. Our guest this week is Tim Huckaby from Burnsview Baptist Church in Greer. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. I'm glad to be back on.
Glad to have you. Been on one time, did a great job, so we wanted to have you back.
I appreciate it.
So tell us a little about yourself, Tim.
Well, things have been going well right now, and just there at Burnsview Baptist Church. In fact, this coming Sunday, we're going to be celebrating our 100th year of ministry there at Burnsview Baptist Church. So we're really excited about that, and we're planning a big day.
Good. So tell us a little bit about the church and kind of how you got there and a little bit about your story.
All right. Well, I came there back in 2002, which is almost 20 years. That's pretty amazing that the Lord's allowed me to stay there that long. We often call Burnsview Baptist Church God's little secret because we're sort of off the beaten path, kind of out there in the country a little bit. But it's pretty amazing that God has brought the entire world to our front doorsteps. Yes. I mean, of course, here in Greer, growth is, goodness, it's just everywhere, and it's come our way as well. And there's just a lot of good things that God is doing in our midst, and we're just so grateful for that. And just so happy to be there right now. And right now is a good time to be at Burnsview. In fact, we often tell folks that we're sort of remember the three bears story, you know, one's too hot, one's too cold, one's just right. Yeah. We often say that we're just right because we're large enough to provide anything that people would want to be involved in as far as ministry, but we're still small enough to know who you are. So that's kind of where we are as a church. Good.
Now, you guys have started doing streaming and all that. I know, you know, back a couple of years ago, you know, churches really weren't doing that. So tell us a little bit about some of your programs and how, you know, people who may not be going to church as much can get involved and what you guys are doing there at Burnsview.
Right, and of course, you know, we had thought about going to live streaming and doing even online giving as well. We thought about that for quite a while, but we were sort of forced to do that when the COVID hit about a year ago because we wanted to have our folks to have access to see our services who chose not to come. We chose to take a common sense, personal responsibility approach when it came to the COVID-19 and all, and we said, look, we're going to be here, and you just need to decide for yourself what's best for yourself. So if you want to stay home, you stay home. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. But we didn't mandate any of that. And of course, we went to 2 services as well. We were having 1 service before the COVID hit, but we went to 2 services to make sure that we provided enough space for people who wanted to spread out a little bit, and we're concerned about that. So there's a lot of activities. We're at the point now where we're back to full strength once again. We've had a lot of new members to join our church recently, simply because of the approach that we took during the COVID time. And also a lot of our folks who had been out have gravitated back. And so at this point right now, we're really at full strength. We're doing evangelism, missions, and doing just about everything that we were doing before. Mm-hmm. But right now we have, it's almost like we have another group of people that we're ministering to, because there are folks that are watching us now online across the country, I think because they've had some connections with some of our people in our church and so forth and so on. So our reach is greater than it's ever been before, and God has blessed us in so many different ways, and we're really grateful for it.
Good. So tell us a little bit about your background as far as, you know, you grew up around here, down below Woodruff, I think, and kind of how, you know, the Lord worked with you when you were kind of in high school and all that. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Oh, okay. Well, I grew up in church. I came to faith in the Lord Jesus Christ at the age of 10, and grew up doing RAs, and I got to the point in my life where we moved away from that little church that I grew up in and was baptized there, and I sort of got rides here and there when I could to get to church, and so the ride sort of stopped. And to make a long story bearable, and I didn't go to church at all in my youth and missed all of that, but the Lord had a way of continuing to work on my heart, and God just knows how to get your attention. And I came to a point in my life where, you know, I knew I needed to get back into church because I'd gotten out of church. And once I started back in church, I started getting more heavily involved with church, and then one thing led to another, and sensed a call to ministry. and I wanted to take the educational route with that. So I went 7 full years, got the college degree and the master's degree of divinity as well, and worked part-time as youth minister along that way, and some other things I did as well while I was going through school, like paper route, working in a grocery store, anything I could to try to help pay for school. But eventually, you know, went to, I did youth ministry for a while and then worked my way into the pastorate, and God's blessed me. And I think this is the 3rd church that I've been in as far as being a pastorate, and been there for almost 20 years, and it's been a wonderful ride since I got there. It's been a really blessed time that I've had since I've been there at Burnsview.
Great. So where'd you go to seminary?
I went to Southeastern up there in Wake Forest.
Okay.
And that was a 3-year program there. I wasn't married at the time, stayed up there pretty much, and then traveled back to Woodruff, South Carolina, because I did some youth ministry work there at Bellevue Baptist Church. And I was also dating what would be my wife at the time, and she lived in Woodruff, so that gave me good incentive to drive back on the weekends. And so that's where I went to school and had a great experience there. Made a lot of friends, and still have many of those friends today.
Good. Yeah, my son, he's a youth minister over at Reedville, and he went to Southeastern, and you know, he did a lot of it online, you know, things like that, like they do now. So tell us a little bit about your staff there at Burnsview.
Okay. At this point, most of our staff are part-time. I think we have 6 to 7 part-time staff there at Burnsview Baptist Church. We've had full-time music staff. We have a part-time music staff now. His name's Adam Witter. He moved here from, Michigan, and he's done a fine job for us. And we have an older guy in our church. He's retired actually from secular work, but he's doing ministry of education and administration at our church. His name's Jay Crawford. We've had a guy here recently that was our students pastor, and that's Reverend James Shetley. And we sort of trained him up and moved him on out there in the mission field. Now he's a pastor at Duncan First Baptist Church.
Good, that's great.
He's like our 3rd students pastor that we've had full time that have left our church and become a pastor somewhere else, or has become a chaplain. We have one guy that became a chaplain actually in the United States Air Force.
Oh, wow.
And he's out there, I think, in Nebraska. Okay. That's Chad Chandler. So we got some good staff, of course, secretary, and we have some other support staff too, and they're all wonderful people. Some of them have been there quite a while, and we got one guy that's coming on board right now that's going to be working with our youth and our children, and he's going to do a fine job for us as well.
Good. Now, what about your seniors ministry? You know, we have a lot of seniors, you know, watching that, watch SC Conversation, Channel 16. So tell us a little bit about your seniors ministry there at Burnsview.
Yeah, our seniors ministry is very active. That is a very active group. In fact, a lot of times our younger folks tell us that they can't wait to become a senior so they can be as active as they are. They call themselves the Joy Club, just older youth. And we sort of tease one another and say that what happens on the Joy Club trip stays on the Joy Club trip. They have a lot of fun, and there's ministry involved too, but it's a growing group, and they love one another, and they do well in that ministry.
Good. So what are some different events you do, you know, during the year, maybe, you know, around the Christmas, July 4th, Halloween, things like that?
Yeah, we have all those typical events that most local churches have. I know this very soon we're going to be doing our fall festival. We have a lot of great success with that, and it's just really amazing that when we do that, sometimes we've done that on Sunday night. I think this year we're going to do it on a Wednesday night. But it's amazing how many people in our community come to that. You know, we just simply put some signs out there in the road, and we do a little bit of advertising, a lot of word of mouth. And the last 5 years that we have done our fall festivals, and of course in our community now, because it was once just a rural community, but it's transitioning to become kind of like a suburban community. And so folks, it's just like they come out of the woodwork for this thing, and it works so well, and we are introduced to a lot of people who are in our community. And we've actually picked up some church members because of that ministry that we do with the Fall Festival. But we have all those kind of ministries that most churches do during the year, doing some activities outside of what we do during, like on a Sunday or a Wednesday night.
Right. Now, do y'all do any partnering with any other churches on different events?
From time to time, we do
that?
partnering. In fact, here recently, we partnered with a local church to send some food supplies up to West Virginia. We learned about this from another church. They wanted us to kind of join hands with them and doing something like a pounding and get a lot of those non-perishable items. And just this past week, we had several people from our church to take that stuff up there to West Virginia, and it's going to be a blessing for them. So yeah, we do partner with several of our churches in the community. In fact, a couple of years ago, we partnered with an African American church and did a Thanksgiving thing together.
Oh, wow.
And had a singing over there, and that was a really good experience for us.
Well, great. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming back and being on the show. Really appreciate it. I always love to have you come on here and talk about yourself and talk about what you guys are doing at Burnsview. And anytime you need to get the word out, just let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks again, Tim.
All right.
I would like to take this time to thank all of the wonderful people and businesses who are sponsoring this show. When you visit the businesses, be sure to go in and tell them thank you for sponsoring SC Conversation.
Hardwood flooring is the most popular kind of flooring, and no one has a larger selection of hardwood flooring than Greer Flooring Center. Remember, you'll always find what you're looking for at the price you're looking for at Greer Flooring Center.
Hey, Upstate, Dave Ramsey here to tell you about our investing ELPs, Roger Sims and Jason Carr at Sims & Carr Financial Solutions. Roger and Jason are the only people I personally endorse for investing right here in the Upstate. They specialize in retirement planning, 401k rollovers, as well as mutual funds and other investments. I personally recommend Roger Sims and Jason Carr of Sims & Carr Financial Solutions. Call Roger and Jason today at 879-0337. That's 879-0337.
All South Carolinians are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccines. For help finding a vaccine location in your area, visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110. COVID-19 vaccines are free and don't require ID or insurance. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110 to find a vaccine location near you.
Hello, welcome to SC Conversation. I'm your host, Brian Mosteller. This week we have Crystal Capps from Compassion Connection. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Brian, my husband and I moved to South Carolina about 26 years ago because of working at a church here in Greenville. And we've been married 41 years. We have 2 children and 2 wonderful families, 5 grandchildren, and 1 on the way.
Great, wow. Keeping you busy.
Yes.
Keeping you busy.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Compassion Connection.
Well, Compassion Connection began in 2007. It mobilizes individuals and churches to connect with senior adults in their communities to meet needs and to share Christ. And I lead this ministry as a Mission Service Corps missionary with the North American Mission Board.
Okay. So why did you start the ministry?
Well, 13 years ago, my mom lived in North Carolina by herself. She was in her late 80s, and she was beginning to show some signs of aging. And by the way, she just turned 100 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
And she lives with me sometimes and my sister. We share her care here in Greenville.
Great.
At any rate, at that time, she, some signs of aging, we were concerned about those things. She had become disconnected with her church. Most of her friends had already passed or were in the same boat, same situation as she was in. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, the kids, my brother and 2 sisters, we jumped in there and began to get her connected to people and places that she needed to be. But it was during that time that I realized not every senior has the blessings of a family or money to take care of themselves and things like that. And so that got me thinking about how many seniors there are in our communities all over that live by themselves and are neglected. And so about that time, my husband and I received a call from a couple out in Greer. It was an elderly couple, and they needed some assistance. So we helped them with a problem that they had. And we also took that to mean maybe God was encouraging us to try to mobilize other volunteers to meet needs of seniors. Right. And so that's really why Compassion Connection began, at that time. Mm-hmm. We also realized that many seniors don't know Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior. And so to be able to not only meet needs, physical needs and things like that, but to be able to share the good news with them was a great thing that we could do as well.
Right. So what do you do in your ministry?
Okay.
What does the ministry do?
Well, there are mainly 3 places that seniors live. They live in their own homes. They live in apartment communities. They live in senior living facilities, which would be like a nursing home or assisted living or a retirement center, something like that. But all seniors basically have to deal with the same issues, like health problems, adequate food, transportation, a sense of community, medical assistance, isolation, anxiety, and there's just so many issues that they have to deal with. There are a lot of community resources that are available to them, and many of them do take advantage of them. But there are still a lot of seniors who fall through the cracks, either because they aren't aware of the resources available to them or they don't have access to them. Mm. So Compassion Connection tries to connect volunteers to those seniors, and but not just to help with meeting the needs, but also to build relationships with them, to provide friendship and encouragement and support.
Yes, my mom passed this past January, but she had some dementia, and she actually moved in with me and my wife for 18 months back a few years ago. We built her an apartment. But she was at a very good assisted living here in Greer,
right,
or in the Lyman area. And while she was there, I was one of the ones who went out there 4 days a week or 5 days a week. I just stopped by. And I built a friendship with so many of the residents there because, and I'm not talking bad about anybody, but people have jobs, they have families,
sure,
they're out of state, but I was there. So I'd get my mom and we'd come out in the TV room or whatever, and we would have conversations with everybody and talk with them. And that's really what the aging population wants. Naturally they need their medicine, they need the doctors and things like that, but they just want somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And somebody to care about them and just have conversations. It doesn't matter, sometimes they don't know naturally what they're saying a lot of times if they have some onset of dementia or Alzheimer's, but that's okay. That's okay, just have the conversations with them. And I'm sure you have plenty of stories, so won't you tell us a few?
Well, that makes me think of Robert. He was an elderly gentleman living in one of the low-income senior apartments here in Greenville. And he had been talking with, by the way, he was blind, which made it more difficult. He'd been asking the manager over and over, can you send somebody to read to me? You know, and particularly he wanted the Bible read to him. Mm-hmm. Well, I was able to contact Patty. I knew she had a heart for seniors, and she began to visit Robert, and for 6 months she visited once a week and read mainly the Bible to him with some other books and things, but developed a relationship with him. He trusted her, just had a really good rapport. She got sick about 6 months into that relationship and had to stop, but as a result of that, Robert came to know Christ. So that was amazing.
Yes.
I remember, or I think of Diane. Diane, I've known for a good while, number of years. We've been able to, Compassion Connection has been able to help her with various needs, like for helping with some furniture needs, providing some food, things like that. But the most important thing is that relationship that we've been able to have. She knows she can call anytime. You know, when she's getting ready to go to the hospital, we're able to pray with her and just continue that relationship. Just last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, we had a bad storm, you know, here in Greenville area, and she had a little tree down in her front yard and a big tree in her back. And you know how it is with seniors; you know, something happens, they want it done right then.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And I was able to contact Mike because he had already started a relationship with her, and he was able to go over just this last week and cut those trees up, and then spend a little time with her and just relate to her. So it was great. So there's just a couple of folks just to give you an idea of how volunteers can help and minister, you know, to the seniors. But Compassion Connection also ministers to seniors in apartment communities. And currently we're working in about 13 senior apartment communities in Greenville County. That would be in Greenville, Greer, Travelers Rest, Simpsonville, in the Malden area that we do. And we try to connect churches to minister to the individual needs of the seniors in the apartment communities, but also to provide community events there. It's tempting for seniors when they get in their apartments to just want to be by themselves, and they need encouragement to get out, you know, and meet people like you were talking about, and that gets them out of themselves and talking, and just creates some good things for them. But a lot of community events, like for instance household bingo, provides practical prizes for seniors. You know, it's a lot of fun. Things like movie nights, meals, holiday parties, things like that, Bible studies, all kinds of things that community events can do, and trips and things also. Some churches are able to, you know, they have like a small bus or vans, and they can take them places. They don't get to go out very often. So these are ways that we encourage churches, you know, to try to minister to the needs of the seniors.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're encouraging the churches, because you can only do so much with your volunteers. But there's churches, I know at the assisted living my mom was at, it was down toward the Lyman area, and a couple of the churches from down there, I would go talk to my mom, and she'd be like, oh, this lady, and she knew her name, and she came to see me today, and look what she brought. And especially around Christmas, you know, Easter, and they'd bring like little flags in, you know, for July the 4th. And, you know, and so I started calling the churches saying, hey, thank you so much for doing that. And they were like, you know, well, thank you for calling, because, you know, so many people don't do that. So I just like to tell people, if you have a loved one in an assisted living or shut in at home, and people do go to see them, reach out to them yourself and tell them thank you, because they don't get a lot of thank yous, but they love what they're doing. That's why they're doing it.
Absolutely.
So how does people get involved with Compassion Connection?
Well, you can get, if you're a member of a small group or a church, you can adopt an apartment community, you know, like we were just sharing. There are a lot of things, practical ways that you can help seniors individually. that means so much to them. You know, you can help take out trash, you can help them write notes, those who have trouble doing that. You can run errands for them, just little things. But my goodness, you can make a tremendous difference, you know, in the life of that senior. When seniors move into a lot of the apartments in Greenville and the surrounding areas, many of them don't have furniture that they need. Now, it could be for a variety of reasons. It might be they don't have the funds to get what they need. It might be that they don't have any family to help them. It might even be that they've been evicted, you know, and they finally found a place to move into. At any rate, I collect used and new furniture and store them, and then am able to get volunteers to help me take the furniture for them. And so I'm always needing volunteers to help do that. And I also accept gently used and new furniture, you know, as well. So that's something someone can do. You can also donate or provide a Christmas bag for a senior at Christmas. Last year we took about 65 Christmas bags to seniors that wouldn't have gotten a Christmas present at all. And so that's that, and I have a list of things that I send out to folks who are interested. You know, that's something that folks can help with.
Well, Crystal, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. I mean, thank you so much, and thank you for, you know, what you're doing. So, thank you for my SC Conversation. Thanks again to our guests and our wonderful sponsors. Remember, you can stay informed about SC Conversation during the week on our Facebook page and website. Also, feel free to send us an email at info@scconversation.com. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening.